Welcome for Dr. Vinayakumar's Spardha Vinaya Educator class. Today we're looking at something that's basically an epic story about how the entire universe moves. And honestly, really understanding this movement, it's going to give you a massive edge in your upcoming exams. We are talking about Newton's first law of motion, or as it's often called, the law of inertia. It's a totally foundational concept in physics. So if you're sitting for the general science sections in UPSC or KPSC exams, like SDA, FDA, PSI, or KAS, this is absolute high-yield territory. Okay, let's dive right into this epic story of motion. So here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the story of motion. Second, mass, force, and inertia. Then we'll break down the big three: inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. Finally, we'll wrap it all up with some exam practice and a summary. All right, part one, the story of motion. Let's get into it. Before we get into the actual laws, we really need to look at the history, because figuring out exactly why things move wasn't exactly straightforward. You might think Isaac Newton just discovered all of this out of nowhere, right? But here's a really great quick fact for your prelims. It was actually Galileo Galilei, way back in the 16th century, who first defined the concept of inertia. He's the one who realized that moving objects kind of just want to stay moving. Fast forward to the 17th century, and Isaac Newton brilliantly takes Galileo's concept and formalizes it into the famous first law of motion we study today. And here is that famous formalization. Newton's first law states, an object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion remains in motion at a constant speed and in a straight line, unless acted on by an unbalanced external force. Now, listen, this isn't just some boring sentence to memorize. It is literally the foundational rule that governs everything in the cosmos, from a parked car on your street to a flying satellite way up in orbit. Basically, if you leave something alone, it just keeps doing exactly what it was already doing. Moving on to section 2, mass, force, and inertia. So you might be wondering, why do some objects listen to this law way more stubbornly than others? Well, it all comes down to mass and those mysterious unbalanced forces acting on it. To really grasp this, just think about a super simple analogy. Imagine a heavy 10,000 kilogram train versus a light 10 kilogram bicycle. Both are objects, right? Both absolutely obey Newton's first law. But think about what it actually takes to get them moving or to stop them. A massive object like a train requires a massive push or pull, an unbalanced external force, to change its motion. But a bicycle? A tiny little push will do the trick. That inherent property that resists this change, that's exactly what we call inertia. And this simple fact perfectly illustrates the mathematical relationship here. The train's resistance to moving is maxed out, while the bicycle's is at a minimum. Inertia is directly proportional to mass. It's a really simple rule to remember for your exams. A heavier mass simply means a much more stubborn inertia. The heavier the object, the more it absolutely refuses to change its current state.
Now, for competitive exams, examiners absolutely love to test your ability to categorize that stubbornness. So we divide inertia into 3 distinct pillars: inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. Understanding the difference between these 3 is the real core of this entire explainer today.
Let's dive into section 3, inertia of rest. So, inertia of rest is basically the complete inability of a body to change its state of rest all by itself. Have you ever taken a dusty carpet outside and beaten it with a stick? It's honestly kind of physical comedy when you think about it. When you whack the carpet, the fabric physically moves backward, away from the stick. But the dust particles, thanks to the inertia of rest, they stubbornly want to stay exactly where they were floating in the air. So the carpet leaves, the dust stays put, and then gravity just pulls the dust down. The exact same thing happens when you vigorously shake a tree branch. The branch moves, sure, but the heavy fruits want to stay at rest, so they just snap right off their stems and detach. Okay, let's do a little coaching for your competitive exams here. You will very likely see this exact question. Why do passengers jerk backwards when a stationary bus suddenly starts moving? Think about what's actually happening. The lower part of the passenger's body is in direct contact with the bus, right? So it moves forward when the bus moves. But the upper body? It has that inertia of rest we just talked about. It wants to stay perfectly still. So as the bottom moves forward, the top stays put, making it feel like you are violently jerking backwards. Keep that specific mechanism in mind for those tricky assertion and reasoning questions. All right, section 4, inertia of motion. Now this is the exact opposite scenario. We're talking about objects that are already moving and absolutely fundamentally refuse to stop. The crucial point here is how we can actually use this to our advantage. Think about an athlete doing the long jump. They don't just stand at the starting line and jump from a standstill, right? Of course not. In step 1, the athlete runs a significant distance to deliberately build up their inertia of motion. In step 2, they take the leap. And in step 3, because their body is already in a state of uniform motion, that inertia physically carries their body significantly farther through the air. Their body literally refuses to stop moving forward. Shifting gears to section 5, inertia of direction. This is our final type of inertia, and it's all about the resistance an object has to changing its straight line path. Imagine you're sitting in the passenger seat of a car, going pretty fast down a totally straight road. Suddenly, the driver makes a really sharp, violent turn to the left. What happens to you? You instantly get thrown against the right side of the car. Why? Because your body was already moving in a straight line, and due to inertia of direction, it desperately wants to keep moving in that exact straight line. The car turned left, but you kept going straight, which basically shoves you right into the passenger door. And you know, this concept is exactly why engineers invented mudguards. When a wheel rotates through mud, the mud sticks to the tire. As the tire turns, the mud wants to keep moving in a straight line, which means it flies off tangentially from that spinning wheel, all due to inertia of direction. Mudguards are just beautifully designed curved barriers built right over the tire specifically to intercept that mud. They completely counteract that straight line inertia and keep the dirt from flying absolutely everywhere. Let's move to our final segment, Section 6, Exam Practice and Summary. It's time to lock in all this knowledge with a bit of interactive quizzing. Here's a great multiple-choice scenario for you. Identify the inertia. Why does an electric fan keep rotating for a while after you switch off the power? Think about the 3 types we just covered. The fan is moving, the power stops, but the fan keeps spinning. What is it? If you confidently selected inertia of motion, you are absolutely correct. The heavy fan blades are already in motion and they literally cannot stop themselves instantly. They actually need friction and air resistance to slowly drag them to a halt. Now, let's lock in a mental snapshot of these concepts side by side, because comparing these is absolutely essential for rapid exam recall. Just think about the flow here. Rest means it cannot start by itself, like our carpet dust. Motion means it cannot stop, like the running athlete. Direction means it cannot turn, which is exactly why we need those mudguards. If you can hold this simple matrix in your head, I promise you, you will absolutely breeze through these physics questions.
I want to leave you with one profound final thought straight from Newton's principles. If the net external force acting on an object is perfectly zero, the body is in what we call mechanical equilibrium, and its velocity stays perfectly constant. But ask yourself this. In our incredibly messy real world, is external force ever truly zero? What actually happens when you introduce just one tiny bit of friction to the universe's most perfect rule? Well, that's a mystery for our next session. Thank you for all students from Dr. Vinayakumar's Spardha Vinaya Educator. Keep this knowledge fresh and good luck on your exams.